this is Yuri from Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports, and today we're going to have a look at Road Atlanta for week 3 in iRacing. This time we're driving the Porsche. Porsche has been a bit faster this season. It's quite a lot of fun to drive, especially on this track, so let's have a look how this car drives on this track. Alright, so here we are starting the lap, coming up to the last chicane. Driving the Porsche, and the rear can be quite tricky on the corner exit here. Take all the curb on the left side to open the right hander up. Getting to turn 1, try to get the car as far to the left as you can, even clipping the grass a bit, so we can use this extra bit of runoff. Don't go all the way right here, get the car to the left. Nice middle section here. Here can get very light here. Focus on a good exit. Now we got all the backside. And the more wing you can trim from your car will obviously benefit you a lot here, as long as you don't lose too much in the first sector. Come to the last chicane, try to use the curb on the right. Try to set up a good exit. And run to the line should be easy flat. That's the lap around Road Atlanta. Right, so here we are to start the lap. Let's have a closer look how this lap looked like from the outside view and what kind of details we have to look out for. So running up to turn 1, again just like in the LMP2 a couple of weeks ago, we need to try to make use of this patch of tarmac on the left side here. And the way to do that, I like to drive a tiny bit off the white line on the left side, and then move in a straight line over this tiny patch of grass in the corner here, so that my left side tires are on this patch of tarmac. So the way that looks like is like this. So I drive in a straight line. I try to not go from the white line and then turn left and immediately right. It tends to upset the car a bit too much. So I try to just drive in a straight line over this, and then gradually start turning in when my tires come off the grass. And you want to avoid going too wide to the outside. If you clip this grass here, then you will understeer wide and might even end up in the wall on the left side. So straight line over this patch of grass, use this bit of tarmac. This gives you that extra couple hundreds in a lap that you might look for trying to improve in your lap times. Steady on the brakes, make sure that you don't brake too much while you're turning. In the Porsche, of course, the engine is at the back of the car. If we're braking too much while turning, especially into high-speed corners, that rear tends to get too light and it tends to snap out. So we want to brake a bit while we're going straight and come off the brakes quite soon. As you can see, I'm quite early off the brakes already. And let the car roll into the corner quite a lot. Apex we want is this kink in the curb here, and slowly back into the throttle, keep the car rotating. And what you want to look for as well is don't go too far to the outside here. The track has a bit of an angle on the outside, and if you get too far towards the curb or even on the curb, the car starts understeering a lot. And the reason why that is an issue is that once we get to the top of the hill, into turn 2, we won't be able to line the car up nicely before turn 3 anymore. So try to not get too close to the outside curb or on it. That way we can go nice and far towards the right side early here. Get the car turned to the top of the hill, and we want to try to be on the inside of this inside black line by the time we get to the top of the hill. That's my reference point. By the time we get to the top of the hill, I want to be on the inside of this black line. And we want to aim for this curb on the left. And the issue with that is that if you go on the cockpit cam, you cannot see that curb. So you cannot see what we're aiming for. I use this black line as a reference, but it will take a couple tries to know exactly where this curb is going to pop up. So you want the curb to pop up, and you want your left side tires on this curb when you're braking. That way we can open up the right hander as much as we can here. Brake as much in the straight line as possible again. And try to hit this curb here with a good angle. And what we want to aim for on the exit here is to hit the outside curb, not when it starts, but slightly afterwards. That way we can just carry our left side tires on the curb the whole time. The car has plenty of downforce, so we can go quite aggressively on the throttle here, and the car will stick without too much over or understeer. Then the downhill right left-hander is easy flat out, whatever part of the cinch you're in. Next corner we need to look out for a lot is turn 5. And that starts with setting the car up well in turn 4 here. And again, we want to brake in a straight line with our right side tires on this curb here. So you see, I only try to start the brake when I start to go straight and on this curb in a straight line. Want to have my tires on the edge of this curb, and I want to go off in a straight line at the end here, trying to open up this corner. Then for turn 5 itself, we've got two options. You either go completely over the curb on the inside, or you only barely touch it. If you go in the middle, the car bounces too high and you don't really get the advantage of taking the shorter line. You miss it a bit like I do, you get a slightly better exit, but you have to compromise the entry a bit. Both lines work out quite well for me. Depends a bit on your setup too. You try to get on the throttle early, try to have the car turned as much as you can before you start to hit this curb on the outside. If you hit this curb on the outside with too much steering that you still have to do, the car can bounce up and it can unsettle the car while you're turning a lot. So you want to try to have the car quite straightened out the moment you hit this curb already. If you manage to do that well, the car will stay stable over the curb and you will have a good exit from turn 5. Then to the double right-hander. I use the second white line as a reference for braking, but I brake a bit before that. And again, just like turn 1, if we're braking too much while we're turning in the Porsche, the rear tends to get too light. So I try to brake quite a lot initially, get off the brakes quite early, and then in the middle of the corner here, the rear will start to get light, especially once you try to trim out a bit of rear wing to get that extra bit of speed on the straight. The rear will be very light here, and what helps is having a tiny bit of throttle quite early into the corner, like I'm doing here. So this tiny bit of throttle, slowly going up, this helps getting the rear planted through the corner. Again, you want to aim for your left side tires on this curb here, brake when you're straight again. And we got what I think is the most tricky corner on the track here, because if you go in slightly too fast here, you're going to sacrifice the exit onto the back straight, which is by far the longest straight on this track. So you want to brake early, get the car to turn in, and try to focus on having a good exit and also keeping the traction. You want to use all the track on the left here. You can use the curb on the left. Make sure that you're off by the time the grass starts on the left, because it gets a bit tighter. Then we got the whole run up to the last chicane. And again, the more comfortable you are running with lower wings in the first sector, the trickier it is, but the more speed you will get on the straight here. Then for the last chicane, we have a similar situation in turn 1. In this case, we want to use the curb on the right side instead of having a bit of tarmac. We want to slightly be on the curb on the right side. You've got two options here again. You can also just follow the white line and go straight, and then you sacrifice a tiny bit of width on the entry. But what you gain is a bit of braking performance because you don't have to turn while braking. Again, both options work rather well for me. It depends a bit on setup and what you're comfortable with as well. If you want to take my line, I go a bit off the white line on the right, and then in a straight line without trying to turn the car too much while braking, I'm going towards this outside curb to open up the corner a tiny bit more. And then I start turning in on the curb. I brake just before this first white line here. And because of the compression at the bottom of the hill here, you go down the hill and it starts to go straight. You can really go on the brakes really hard without going into the ABS too early. So this is one of the spots on the whole of iRacing where you can brake the hardest, because again the car gets compressed into the ground and you get a lot of grip here. Start turning in on the curb, and then you want to make sure to sacrifice this first left-hander to open up the right-hander and run up the hill, run up to the start-finish straight. You want to get the car as much to the left as possible here without getting off track. As you can see, I'm quite far off the road here, and this is still not an off track. You need to see exactly where this off track is. It is a bit further than I would expect you are allowed to take it. And what that allows us to do is we exit the first left-hander, and as you can see, our car is still almost completely to the left of the track, instead of being in the middle, even to the right of the track. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to go on throttle and barely go to throttle anymore from this point. What we see here, I lift a tiny bit here to add a bit of weight to the front, and then immediately back full throttle again. So from this point here, from the exit, I'm almost full throttle all the way up to turn 1 again. And what this allows me to do with so much throttle here is carry a lot of speed up the hill. So I don't have to accelerate from as low anymore if you want to stop in this corner. You want to open up the entry, carry a lot of speed, carry all that speed up the hill, which is going to gain you a lot of time compared to having to accelerate up the hill. And then all that's left is to run up to start-finish straight, and then you complete a lap around Road Atlanta. I think a very fun combo with the Porsche. Good practice as well for Petit Le Mans coming up. I wish everyone good luck, and have fun practicing. So that was a lap around Road Atlanta. As I said, I think it's a lot of fun. Good practice for Petit Le Mans coming up, and just overall a very fun combo to drive. If you want to have more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and get ready for more videos coming up.